Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to this set of cards that I made using the Stampin' Up! Lotus Blossom Celebration set. I created 4 cards all at the same time with these 2 sets. The first is Borderettes. It's just a set of borders. It's from the annual catalog Stampin' Up! That came out this past summer. And these are both photopolymer, by the way. And then this is the Lotus Blossom Celebration set, and it's a 3-step stamp. So I'm going to show you how to use that. The first thing I'm going to do is take this border and I'm going to line it up using it. This is a box top, so it's just a cardboard box. Line it up against the edge because I know it's straight, and then I'll put it right on my acrylic block. Now I normally line it up on the block itself, but it was sticking to the side of the block, so that's why I used the box top. Anyway, this is some Simon Says Stamp black ink, and I'm just going to ink it up and stamp it right on the edge of this cardstock, which is 3 7/8 by 5. 5. So I'm going to stamp both sides, and there might be a little bit of space on the top and the bottom, but it's going to be okay, and I'll show you that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and do all 4 of these cards at once. Now here's the little edge that I was talking about. So I tried to get it as close to the edge as I could, but I went ahead and trimmed those. You can use a trimmer or a pair of scissors. I actually found that the scissors were a little bit easier. So now when I'm stamping these lotus blossoms, I'm using 2 inks. Now I tried using 3 and it didn't work as well as 2. So the first thing you'll do is take step 1, which is the smallest stamp. I'm using Elegant Eggplant, which is kind of a dark purple, and then I stamp off the second stamp. And Stampin' Up! Inks are amazingly enough beautiful when they're stamped off, and they form a completely new different color. Now I'm going to lift this up for a second so you can see it. You have a dark color and then a lighter color that is just a different tone than the first one. And it's not splotchy or anything like that. So now this is Wisteria Wonder, and it's just a light purple, and I put that right on top, and it just came out beautiful. I think the purple is my favorite one. So I'm going to do 4 different ones. My second one was the blues. The first ink I used was Pacific Point, and I'm going to stamp that down kind of at an angle. Then I'll take my step 2 stamp, stamp it again in the Pacific Point, and then I'll stamp it off on a piece of scratch paper. And what you're lining up here is the tips at the very top. And you'll see how pretty this is. I'm going to show it to you so you can see it close up. That stamping off image is just so pretty. And then the third one, I'm using Marina Mist. I also tried using Tempting Turquoise and Soft Sky. And I like that combination too, but I liked this combination a little bit better. Now for that third stamp, you want to line up the tips again at the top, but also that big petal that kind of sticks out the bottom. For my pinks, I'm going to use Rose Red as my dark color. Stamp off with that second one. I tried this with Melon Mambo as well as Pink Pirouette, which is the next one I'm going to use. This is Rose Red. And so I used Melon Mambo and Pink Pirouette, and it didn't look quite as nice as this. The Melon Mambo was a little bit too bright. I really like the Rose Red. Now finally for my yellowish orange one, I used Pumpkin Pie. Lining up the tips for the second one, and then the tips and the bottom. See that little piece kind of looks like a C on the lower left. You're going to line that up as well. And this is So Saffron. I actually tried using Daffodil Delight, and it was a little bit too bright, so I prefer the So Saffron. For my stems, I'm going to use Garden Green. There's just 2 steps for the stems. Garden Green for the first, and then Wild Wasabi for the second. I also tried Old Olive with Wild Wasabi, but I preferred the Garden Green. I'm going to stamp all of these at once. And when I stamped the second one on the blue, you can see I didn't exactly center it on top of the first stamp. So I'm just going to take my Wild Wasabi pen, and I'm just going to fill in the holes there that I missed. Really. Now the next step is I'm going to create some paint splatter with the inks that I used on the flower. So for the purple one, I'm going to use Elegant Eggplant and Wisteria Wonder. And then I'm also going to throw in some Simon Says Stamp black ink. I'm just going to put a little bit on my craft mat, and then I'll spray it with water. And I'll take my brush and I'll tap it from the top of the brush. Now this first card that I did this on, I got very, very tiny splatters, and I think it's because I didn't use a whole lot of water. And so you'll see on the next one, I'm going to get much bigger splatters because I'm going to use more water. So So you can see how pretty, so it was kind of a stark white background, but when you add the paint splatters, it adds just a little bit, but not too much interest. So it kind of like blends into the background. So you can see my splatters here are a little bit bigger because I added more water. Now I'm going to do that with all of them and let it dry. And then I'm going to cut a black piece of cardstock that's 3/4 of an inch wide and as wide as the white area. So I don't want it to butt up against those black borders. And then I'm going to stamp, after it's dry, this thank you sentiment, which is also part of the Lotus Blossom set. I'm going to stamp that on all of them. And then I'll adhere my black piece to the card base. And I'm just going to center it on the left hand side. This is actually going to open from the right. I'll use some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to pop up my panel. And at first I centered it on the left hand side, but then found out that it was much easier to do it on the right. And it lined up on the left because my black was also centered. And that's pretty much it for the card. These cards went by really super fast. They were really easy to make, and I think that it makes a really beautiful card set that you can package up and give as a gift. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.